Good evening. I'd like to call the Wednesday, March 6th, 2024 meeting of the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Would you call the roll, please?
Bruce Forrester,
Here.
Craig Burrow,
Here.
Rex Meyer,
Present.
Luke Phelan.
Here.
Mike Pratt is not present.
We have no approval of minutes, and we don't have any motions to adjourn for county board votes. So we'll work right with old business, petition number 23-P-16-1617 by Stewart Creek Solar LLC with lots of PIN numbers. And with this, we'll turn it over to our facilitator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the members may recall, we have concluded the public hearing in this matter. We are now at the stage where you, as the members of the zoning board, will discuss, and upon concluding your discussion at whatever time that takes amongst you in this public forum, then you will proceed to presumably adopt some form of motion or adopt a report and recommendations based on the conclusions that you collectively, based on that vote, decide exist. Those conclusions, that report will be based on the evidence that's been presented to this board. The evidence consists of not only the testimony that you heard, reasonable inferences therefrom, as well as the exhibits, the documents that were contained in the original petition and the attachments thereto, the zoning administrator's exhibits that she tendered, which were admitted into evidence, and the transcript of proceedings, which was taken by the court reporter, prepared and is available if you need it to review and consider. So at this point, consistent with the role that I play, I did take the liberty of preparing maybe some suggestions for you to discuss. They are just suggestions and discussion points. Ultimately, each of you have to decide in a vote whether you agree or disagree and what your findings are. So I guess with your blessing, Mr. Chairman, I'll give you the draft to begin that conversation. And I think, does the zoning administrator have a draft appendix to go with that you wish it distributed?
It's got paper.
Have counsel online, Kennedy is there. I believe we have petitioner's counsel, Ms. Kennedy, online, if you could confirm.
Yep, I am here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, the sections are put together, numbered, consistent with the Lee County ordinance related to these types of facilities. We can take them by the numbered sections once you've had a brief chance to review and start to go through them for you to discuss the evidence that you heard and the conclusions you wish to reach.
Okay.
Mr. Zonger, how many do you think we should include sections before approving a section or whatever?
What I would recommend is that we discuss each section, and then if there are changes, we can change them. If not, then you can adopt it as a whole document. If you don't have any changes, you could proceed that way. But if you have changes, it might be easier for you to discuss that section by numbered section by numbered section. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yeah. That's
So will we read each section or? Do you want to
There is
adapt
no
it as a-
requirement that it be read out loud. We can go over each section to discuss. It doesn't need to be read or repeated into the record. Your ultimate report and recommendations will be made part of the record. The first section is titled Petitioner Petition Project Notice Facilitator Process Witnesses Exhibits Closing Statements and Public Comments. Sort of covers the outline of what was filed, when it was filed, what was posted, what occurred process-wise, who testified, and who was present, along with interested parties, the number that was there, and then as well as exhibits, and then an overview of the opening, closing, and project. Big section, but. So, Mr. Chairman, if you want to, we can take them, sort of on page by page, the numbers, so it doesn't seem too overwhelming. The first section just reflects that the zoning board was authorized by the Lee County Ordinance 2023-05-003, recites the dates for the petition, the second amendment petition, that's in sections A and B. Section C was the notice that was prepared and posted by the zoning administrator. D is the initial session reflecting the appointment of myself as the hearing facilitator, and then also the opening session, which occurred on January 4th with no public hearing. Section E would be the process that was followed. And we'll stop there for a moment. That's on page 2.
Because there might be people watching and they can't see what we're reading, I wonder if we need to read it.
We can certainly do that for the benefit of everybody. So do you want me to do that for the record?
Would you
I
like
don't know. I could read a fair portion of this. What are your thoughts?
That's fine.
So
Why don't we?
good stopping part is after E, after the
Correct.
process.
And we can talk about the witnesses at that point.
Okay.
So in the draft report and findings, section 1 is titled Petitioner, Petition, Project Notice, Facilitator, Process, Witnesses, Exhibits, Closing Statements, and Public Comments. It reads, the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals, hereinafter ZBA, as authorized by Lee County Ordinance 2023-0503, herein finds as follows. The Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals, hereinafter ZBA, finds on October 6, 2023, Stewart Creek Solar LLC, hereinafter referred to as Stewart Creek, the petitioner, applicant, or the developer, Illinois Limited Liability Company, which is a subsidiary of Hexagon Energy LLC, a Virginia Limited Liability Company, filed a petition for special use permit for Phase 2, which is numbered 23P1617, for the construction and operation and maintenance of a 600 megawatt commercial solar energy facility, CSEF, including as designed a 150 megawatt battery energy storage system known as a BESS, supporting facility situated in Willow Creek and Alto Townships in Lee County. Hereinafter, the petition, Stewart Creek, the project, the solar farm, or the development within the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office. On or about November 3rd, 2023, Stewart Creek filed an amended petition for special use permit for the project with the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office. On or about December 4th, 2023, Stewart Creek filed a second amended petition for special use permit for the project with the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office. Subparagraph B, the second amended petition for special use permit petition was accompanied by supporting material in the form of 12 copies of the 8.5 by 11 3-ring binders, hereinafter the supplement, supporting material, or supplemental material. A digital version of the supporting material was also provided on a USB thumb drive. Section C, proper notice of the filing of the petition and the impending January 4th, 2024 ZBA hearing was published in the Dixon Telegraph on December 20th, 2023, and in the Ogle County Life on December 18th, 2023. Section 2, United States Postal Service certified mailings of the same notice were sent by the petitioner to real estate property owners whose properties would be adjacent to the proposed project's boundaries, with such mailings being postmarked on December 8th, 2023. Number 3, C3, Lee County Zoning and Planning Administrator, Ms. Alice Hinkle, supplemented the above notices as follows. A, by way of a digital agenda uploaded and posted to the Agenda Center of the Lee County website. B, posting the agenda on the County Board Chairman's Bulletin Board in the Old Lee County Courthouse on December 27th, 2023, January 18th, 2024, and February 27th, 2024. And C, timely notice was posted at the intersection of Stewart Road and McGurr Road, as well as County Line Road just south of the Village of Lee. Subsection D, initial session. Number 1, on the evening of Thursday, January 4th, 2024, the hearing beginning at 7 p.m. was initially announced by ZBA Chairman Bruce Forster in the former courtroom on the 3rd floor of the old Lee County Courthouse. Section 2, under the authority provided by its own rules prior to formally initiating the hearing, the ZBA engaged the services of attorney Timothy Zollinger to serve as the facilitator for the proceedings, known as the facilitator. Subsection E, the Lee County ZBA finds that the public hearing began on February 20th, 2024 and concluded on February 28th, 2024 after approximately 3.5 hours, total hours of hearing time. Process Section 2, the Lee County ZBA finds A, through the auspices of the Lee County IT Department and the Lee County Zoning and Planning Officer, interested parties were provided the opportunity to remotely and virtually participate in the hearing by either video or teleconferencing via the video communication platform Zoom, through the use of a computer, telephone, or similar communication device at a location of their choosing. B, the Lee County ZBA finds that at any given time there were 15 interested parties that appeared in person and 13 persons on Zoom. There's a typo right after that. I'll fix this. Appear to be 9 individuals. That should be removed. Subsection E2C, interested parties could at all times remotely view and listen to proceedings in near real time or later in the recorded mode it's a YouTube feed, correct? Later posted on a YouTube feed, and there were no technical interruptions. D, interested parties can rewatch the hearing which was recorded and uploaded to the Lee County account on YouTube. E, the entirety of the hearing proceedings were taken down by a certified shorthand reporter and subsequently transcribed. Those transcripts of all testimony, arguments, public comments, and ZBA discussion were and continue to be available on the Lee County Planning and Zoning web pages found on the Lee County website. Section 3. The Lee County ZBA finds that over the course of the first stage, everyone, including the petitioner and all interested parties, were given a complete and fair opportunity to be heard. 4, the Lee County ZBA finds that everyone, including the petitioner and interested parties, were given the chance to present evidence, including witnesses and exhibits, cross-examine the witness of others, and to present a closing argument, statement, or public comment. Section 5, no written comments in support or objection were received. 6, during the ZBA hearing, all interested parties that desired to comment were permitted to do so. This included 9 individuals. Several interested parties spoke in favor of the proposal, including property owners in the area, with 2 parties, one in person and one remote, speaking against the project. One remote party expressed concern over the inclusion of a BESS system and requested clarification on allowance of a BESS system, since it was understood the county had a moratorium on the same. Counsel for petitioner offered comment on the status of any such moratorium. The Lee County Zoning and Planning Administrator further noted that the county, based on current state law, given the definition of accessory structures, would be without direct authority to prohibit the same. And then section 7, the Lee County ZBA finds that after it considered its finding of fact and recommendations, over the course of one session on March 6, 2024. We'll stop there before we get to witnesses.
I find all that to be the way I remembered factual. Do we want to adopt each section, or do you want to adopt the whole?
Again, I'll leave that up to you. If you want to go all the sections and do one report, or do it section by section, it's up to you.
Want to adopt that? Okay, then.
What's that?
I'll just okay that section.
It's up to you. You make motion and
Yeah.
If you want to, then the motion will be to approve section 1, subsections A, B, C, D, E, and E.
I make that motion.
A second.
we have a motion and a
Any
second.
discussion by the members?
Do we have any comments? No? I agree with that.
All right. Do you want a roll call vote, Mr. Chairman, or do you want a voice vote?
We'll do, we can do a roll call vote.
Craig Burrow,
Yes.
Luke Phelan,
Yes.
Rex Meyer,
Yes.
Bruce Forster.
Yes.
And now we move on to section F, which are the witnesses. It might be helpful if I read section F and then stop for a moment, and then you as the members of the board can discuss your recollection of the testimony. Section F is witnesses. The ZBA finds that 3 individuals took the witness stand, were placed under oath or affirmation, and testified. Interested parties who spoke on the topic without testifying as a witness were also allowed. Sworn witnesses in order of appearance, including a brief summary of their testimony, is as follows. Number 1, Ms. Alice Hinkle, Lee County Zoning and Planning Administrator, laid the foundation for the admission of her and Lee County's exhibits into evidence. These exhibits included the various notice processes for the ZBA hearing and the assorted documents accepted and kept within her office. She further testified that the petitioner had supplied all the necessary documents, reports, and materials necessary to comply with the Lee County Solar Ordinance number 2023-07008, and the applicable sections of the Lee County Code, and the petitioner's application materials were complete. Number 2, Mr. Scott, and I'm probably, Reamer appeared on behalf of the petitioner. He is Senior Director of Development with Hexagon Energy, LLC, the parent company of Stewart Creek. He outlined Hexagon's company structure and renewable energy development experience. He went on to provide a detailed explanation of the PJM interconnection process, which applicable commercial solar energy projects undergo in order to obtain an interconnection agreement. Number 3, Mr. William Hansman, a Senior Development Manager with Hexagon, provided an overview of the project and detailed the various ways in which the proposed project has met, will meet, or will exceed the requirements of the Lee County ordinances, plural, including on behalf of the company committing to being in substantial accord with all representations made in its supplement and the statements he made under oath during the ZBA hearing. Number 4, there were no other sworn witnesses. Number 5, interested parties spoke about the review of the project without offering formal testimony or evidence. 1 interested party offered a photograph printed from the internet. 3 interested parties actively participated remotely, offering comments and posing questions. No limits were placed on the comments of interested parties. I'll stop there.
I move to approve that section.
Second.
Discussion?
Any discussion? Good. No discussion.
You want a voice vote or a roll call, Mr. Chairman?
We'll just do roll call.
Craig Burrow,
Yes.
Luke Phelan,
Yes.
Rex Meyer,
Yes.
Bruce Forrester.
Yes.
I'd like to take the next 2 sections together, which is G and H, which are exhibits, zoning officers, petitioner and zoning officers. So G is exhibits. The ZBA finds the following exhibits were admitted into evidence by the facilitator and considered by the ZBA. Number 1, petitioner's exhibits. Petitioner's exhibit 1, PowerPoint presentation of Scott Reamer admitted for demonstrative purposes. Petitioner's exhibit 2, project application materials or supplemental binder. And C, petitioner's exhibit number 3, the updated decommissioning plan prepared by Kimley-Horn. D, petitioner's exhibit number 4, updated noise analysis study prepared by Kimley-Horn. And petitioner's exhibit 5, a PowerPoint presentation of William Hansman admitted for demonstrative purposes. Zoning officer exhibits, section H, number 1, zoning officers group exhibit number 1, copy of the file stamp petition for special use permit filed on October 6, 2023, copy of the file stamped amended petition for special use permit filed on November 3, 2023, and a copy of the file stamped second amended petition for special use permit filed on December 4, 2023. Section 2, zoning officers group exhibit number 2, copy of the notice of public hearing sent to various Lee County agencies regarding the project. Number 3, zoning officers exhibit number 3. I have a blank there. What was your exhibit number 3? Exhibit 3 would be the agendas for January 4th, January 16th, February 1st, and February 20th. Should also include February 27th. I'm sorry, 28th.
Where January 4, January 16th was canceled, February 20th, February 28th, and then March 6th.
Zoning officer exhibit 4 was a copy of the notice of public hearing posted. Zoning officer exhibit 5 was a copy of the notice of public hearing sent by certified mail. Return receipts of same mailed to adjacent property owners adjacent to the development, and a copy of the Dixon Telegraph's certificate of publication of the notice of public hearing, a copy of the Ogle County Life certificate of publication of the notice of public hearing. 6, zoning officers exhibit 6 was a copy of the Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District's Natural Resources Inventory Report. 7, zoning officers exhibit 7 was a copy of the executed Agricultural Impact Mitigation Agreement, AMA, executed between the applicant and the Illinois Department of Agriculture for Phase 2. We also had an interested party exhibit offered by interested party John Peterson. A photograph of what he depicted as a battery system was marked as Peterson Exhibit 1 since it was referenced and copies distributed. No party offered it in evidence. And I'll stop there. Discussion?
I move for approval of section G and H.
Second.
As corrected tonight.
Any discussion?
You have any discussion? No? No?
You want a roll call or?
We'll just keep roll call.
Okay, fair enough.
Craig Burrow,
Yes.
Luke Phelan,
Yes.
Rex Meyer,
Yes.
Bruce Forster.
Yes.
Next section is I, closing statements and public comments. The ZBA finds that the following individuals and interested parties were permitted without limitation the opportunity to make closing statements or public comments. Number one, counsel for petitioner, Ms. Courtney Kennedy, used the content of the exhibits, supporting materials and hearing factors set forth in the Lee County ordinance to demonstrate the project's compliance with the Lee County ordinance and stated the reasons the ZBA should recommend to the Lee County Board to approve the petition for a special use permit. Number two, interested parties were permitted without limitation to offer comments and ask questions. These individuals included Carl Keeling, John Peterson, Terry Voidick, Andy Wade, Lynn Saunders, Jim Weiss, Martha Johansson. Also included individuals who attended remotely, Heidi Peterson, Allie Huss, and Mel Grattan. The ZBA further finds that the testimony offered by each witness is fairly and accurately reflected in the transcript or proceedings taken by the court reporter at the public hearing. The transcript or proceedings is formally adopted herein. I'll stop there on that one.
I would move to adopt that section.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All right, vote.
Craig Burrow,
Yes.
Luke Phelan,
Yes.
Rex Meyer,
Yes.
Bruce Forster.
Yes.
Next section is labeled J, Overview of Development. Based on the exhibits offered at public hearing and testimony of the project by the project developer, the ZBA finds that number one, purpose, the project is construction of a 600 megawatt commercial solar energy system constructed on approximately 3,500 acres of land. It is to be located at various locations in Lee County, approximately 6 miles southeast of Rochelle, 6 miles southwest of Shabana, and located near the village of Lee and the village of Stewart in Alto and Willow Creek Township in Lee County. The sites are as depicted on Figure 1 within Petitioner's Exhibit Number 4. It is anticipated that construction will begin in early 2026. The project will include interconnection into the Commonwealth Edison ComEd 345 kV transmission line. Section 2, Useful Life. The anticipated lifespan of the type of panels to be used in construction is warranted to be up to 25 years with an expected lifespan of approximately 40 years. Components, the equipment specification to be used in the project were explained by petitioner's witnesses and are reflected in petitioner's Exhibit 3. Number 4, access road and fencing. Based on the testimony, based on the petition, the testimony of the petitioner's representative, that existing roads and the farm lane will be used to access will be the access road to the project. Based on the testimony of the petitioner's representative, the fencing surrounding the project will be approximately 6 feet in height and will be constructed with components that will allow small wildlife to enter and exit the project site unabated. Section 5, background findings. Based on the testimony of the petitioner and the documents submitted with the application, there appears to be no protected lands identified by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. No adverse findings were issued by the Illinois State Historic Preservation Office. No adverse findings were issued by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Number 6, prior ZBA proceedings related to the project. The ZBA affirmatively acknowledges that Phase 1 of the project, Stewart Creek Phase 1, was previously approved by ordinance 11-20-003 on November 19, 2020. Number 7, community support. In the fall of 2023, both the Village of Lee and the Village of Stewart voted at public meetings to endorse and support Phase 2 and this petition. Conditions of this endorsement included requests for increased setbacks and dark sky lighting utilization. Next section is applicable ordinance. The specific Lee County CSEF ordinance. On July 20th, 2023, the Lee County Board Chairman signed into law an ordinance amending the regulating development regulation, development of commercial solar energy facilities. The ordinance passed by the County Board is ordinance 2023-07-008, which would then be the provision specifically applicable to the petition at issue, which has now been codified. B, rules and regulations pertaining to standalone battery energy storage systems, or BESS. At the time of the filing of the petition, the Lee County Board did not have an ordinance in effect prohibiting standalone BESS. The code, however, defines supporting facilities as transmission lines, substations, access roads, storage containers, and equipment associated with the generation and storage of electricity by the commercial solar energy facility. Furthermore, the ordinance defines commercial solar energy building permit as a permit necessary for the commencement of work performed toward the construction, erection, or installation of an approved commercial solar energy facility, substation, supporting facilities, or operations and maintenance building in connection with a commercial solar energy facility. C, other applicable ordinances. The ZBA finds that also in place at the time of the petition and continuing thereafter, certain provisions of the Lee County ordinance, quote, performance standards, quote, and special exceptions, variations, and nonconforming uses remain applicable to the petition unless expressly supplemented by the Solar Energy System Ordinance 2023-05-003. And I'll stop there for those two sections.
I have a question of clarification for either Alice or Ms. Sasser. Number 3, Part B, rules and regulations pertaining to the standalone battery energy storage system. At the time of the filing of the petition, Lee County Board did not have an ordinance in effect prohibiting standalone BESS. Is that correct?
Sorry, for the record, she said that was correct.
Do you want to comment on the record for that so we're clear who's offering?
No, that's fine. I appreciate it, Alice. Yes, that's correct. There was no ordinance that was in effect, that was effective prohibiting a standalone BESS, so that language is fine.
Thank you. Other questions?
Sir, on J1, the location says 6 miles southeast of Rochelle, and then the next one's 6 miles southwest of Chabanon. I believe that should be northwest of Chabanon.
Okay.
I'm working that area, so I'm pretty sure that's northwest.
Which way is it? Craig?
From Shabana, it's northwest of Shabana, the location we're dealing with.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Other points of discussion for those two sections?
No further discussion here.
I move to approve it with the correction of northwest of Shabana.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call?
Craig Burrow,
Yes.
Luke Phelan,
Yes.
Rex Meyer,
Yes.
Bruce Forster.
Yes.
The next section is labeled evidentiary findings of fact required by Lee County Ordinance 2023-0503. After duly considering the content of the application and supporting documents reflecting on the testimony, and exhibits presented at public hearing, the members of the ZBA hereby find: A, the petitioner will, at the time of application for the building permit, have a structural engineer certify that the commercial solar energy facility is within accepted professional standards and compliant with all state and county code requirements. B, petitioner testified that the project would comply with all fencing, setback, warning notice, outdoor storage, and noise level requirements. No evidence to the contrary was introduced. C, petitioner testified and consented to provision of as-built plans to the Lee County zoning administrator within 60 days of completion of construction, and to provide to local emergency responders a copy of the site plan and standard operating procedures, including but not limited to an emergency response plan, and which shall expressly address the presence of any BESS located on the site. D, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the proposed project, the commercial solar energy facility, will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. F, that the project, the commercial solar energy facility, will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property values of surrounding properties. And F, establishment of the commercial solar energy facility will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding properties. G, adequate public utilities, access roads, drainage, and/or necessary facilities have been or will be provided. H, adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so signed to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. I, the proposed project based on its siting is not contrary to the objectives of the current comprehensive plan of the county. J, the proposed project, the commercial solar energy facility in all other respects conforms to the applicable regulations of the SES ordinance and the zoning district in which it is to be located. K, that it is necessary to impose conditions, guarantees, and restrictions in addition to those imposed by the SES ordinance for the protection of the public interest and to secure compliance with the standards of the ordinance. Namely, 1, petitioner maintain appropriate approved decommission obligations within the land lease agreements, maintain compliance with the AMA and all county requirements. 2, petitioner provide evidence of appropriate financial security with the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office prior to issuance of a building permit. All such financial security shall be updated at a minimum every 5 years. 3, the petitioner maintain a telephone or web-based portal permitting members of the public to notify petitioner of any issues and seek resolution. Petitioner shall maintain a log of such contacts and provide a copy of the same to the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office upon reasonable request. 4, petitioner at the time of issuance of any building permit submit a draft proposed emergency response plan related to the BESS, which shall have been prepared following input from fire protection agencies responsible for any emergency response. The petitioner shall update the plan following construction at a minimum every 5 years or earlier if the BESS equipment is substantially changed or replaced. Section 5, petitioner complies with conditions relating to the BESS as outlined in ZBA Appendix A, a copy of which is attached here too. I want to stop there briefly. I believe the zoning administrator has a recommendation that she wishes to tender for consideration as part of that appendix.
Just state that I would like to, or you want me to read these?
I think it should be read.
Okay. ZBA Exhibit A to findings of facts and recommendations. Conditions specific to the proposed BESS. Modifications to retrofits or replacements of an existing battery energy storage system, or BESS, that increase discharge duration or nameplate capacity shall be subject to any applicable battery energy storage system ordinance Lee County has in place at the time of the modification, retrofit, fit, and/or replacement of the existing battery energy storage system. A building permit, number 2, a building permit shall be required for installation of any BESS. Number 3, all BESS, all buildings built for the primary intention of housing BESS equipment and all other building and/or structures that contained or are otherwise associated with a BESS shall be designed, erected, and installed in accordance with all applicable provisions of local, state, and federal law. Number 4, any BESS located at the site shall be designed or installed in a manner that has 24/7 remote monitoring and include fire suppression systems. Number 5, areas within 10 feet on each side of the BESS shall be maintained clear of combustible vegetation and other combustible growth. Number 6, BESS shall be sited to avoid wetlands, floodplains, and other locations of environmental concerns. Number 7, no BESS or related structures shall be closer than 25 feet to the inside of a facility fence line. 8, all components of the BESS shall be set back a minimum of 500 feet of any residence or occupied community building unless a waiver is obtained from the affected landowner. The setback distance shall be measured from the nearest edge of any component of the BESS to the nearest point on the outside wall of the residence or occupied community building. Number 9, all components of the BESS shall be set back a minimum of 200 feet from any nearest point on the property line of a non-participating property unless a waiver is obtained from the affected non-participating property owner. Number 10, all components of the BESS shall be set back a minimum of 50 feet from the nearest edge of the public road right-of-way, absent express approved variance by the ZBA. Number 11, all components of the BESS shall be sited so as to be located within the interior of said commercial solar energy facility, with the banks of solar panels lying between the BESS and the edges of the commercial solar energy facility. Number 12, all components of the BESS shall be enclosed by a fence with a locking gate to prevent unauthorized access. Number 13, the BESS engineer's certificate shall be completed by a structural engineer registered in the state of Illinois or by a professional engineer with a certification from a structural engineer registered in the state of Illinois, and shall certify that the specific soils and subsurface conditions at the site can support the apparatus, given local soils, subsurface, and climate conditions. Number 14, the petitioner must provide an emergency response plan specific to the BESS after consultation with local emergency responders. I would like to correct myself. Number 12 should be eliminated, as that is already covered by the ordinance. And that was all components of the BESS shall be enclosed by a fence with a locking gate to prevent unauthorized access.
So, Mr. Chairman, I thought we would pause there if you have questions from the members of those separate recommendations, because they are incorporated in as an appendix or a attachment.
Any questions? Don't have any. Still contemplating.
Alice, when did you say these were drafted then, or these, when did you draft, or when the county draft these, or?
These were, following the close of evidence, these were drafted by myself.
Okay.
With regard to the evidentiary findings section, which incorporates the ZBA Appendix A as proposed by the zoning administrator, further discussion or questions?
I move that we approve that section with the addition of these points that the zoning administrator,
Be the ZBA Appendix A.
yeah, Appendix A that she drafted.
Second.
Discussion?
I have none.
Okay.
Anybody
Roll
got-
call?
Craig Burrow,
Yes.
Luke Phelan, Rex Meyer,
Yes.
Bruce Forster.
Yes.
The next section is Section 6, evidentiary findings of fact not directly addressed by any ordinance. Subsection A, vibration. The Lee County ZBA finds, based on the supplementary material and any testimony heard, other than probable construction activities such as truck traffic and support pile driving, there be no detectable vibration associated with this proposed development after completion. B, air pollution. The Lee County ZBA finds, based on the supplement and testimony heard, that there will be no material or substance emitted from this proposed solar development. C, odor. The Lee County ZBA finds, based on the supplementary material and testimony heard, there be no odor associated with this proposed solar development. D, electromagnetic fields. The Lee County ZBA finds, based on the testimony, that there was no study conducted to determine what, if any, electromagnetic fields will be created by the proposed project. However, witnesses appearing on behalf of the project testified that there would be very minimal electromagnetic fields generated by the project, and the EMFs generated would be similar to the amount individuals encounter in everyday life, such as those generated from AC wiring or cell phones. The Lee County ZBA therefore finds there is no indication that any EMFs generated by the project would pose a threat to general welfare. F, heat. The Lee County ZBA finds, based on the petitioner's supplement and its testimony heard, there would be not be significant heat associated with a solar development that would affect adjoining properties. F, fire and explosion hazards. The Lee County ZBA finds, based on the supplementary material and testimony heard, there would be no particular identifiable fire or explosion hazards associated with the project. The ZBA does, however, make note of the presence of a proposed BESS system and finds that petitioners' exhibits and testimony noted that heating and cooling measures would be in place to address maintenance of the BESS, as well as the presence of a fire suppression system. G, toxic or noxious material. The Lee County ZBA finds, based on testimony heard, there would be no particular identifiable toxic or noxious material generated by the proposed project. H, environment. The Lee County ZBA finds that the proposed CSEF project does not carry with it any apparent environmental concerns. I, character of the land, property values. The Lee County ZBA finds that number one, the character of the land within the proposed project boundaries is agricultural in nature and used primarily for the cultivation of row crops. And two, interested party Mel Grattan commented that it was his informed opinion that removing the land for the period of the solar facility lease would effectively operate as an extended CRP placement, allowing the land to be restored. And three, the project will not negatively impact adjacent land values. J, tax revenue, jobs, economic advantages, and community benefits. Number one, the Lee County ZBA finds the petitioner testified the project would produce an equalized assessed valuation Sorry, there's a word missing there. Significant increase in equalized assessed valuation generating real estate tax as outlined in petitioner's Exhibit 5 in annual real estate property taxes. Number 2, the Lee County ZBA finds that the proposed project would enhance greater electrical grid stability. Number 3, the Lee County ZBA finds that the proposed project would contribute to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. 4, the Lee County ZBA finds that the petitioner testified that the proposed development would not require any additional public services or utilities during construction or operation of the CSEF, except in the use of roads and the possibility of emergency services. 5, Lee County ZBA finds that the participating landowners would financially benefit from the proposed project. 6, the Lee County ZBA finds that the petitioner has obtained resolutions authorizing and approving the development of the project within 1.5 miles of the incorporated boundaries of the villages of Lee and Stewart, and further has committed to making donations to both villages for the respective economic development. 7, the Lee County ZBA finds that approval of the special use permit petition would not carry with it the need to access any traditional infrastructure utilities other than as may be owned by ComEd. 8, the Lee County ZBA finds that the project will generate an estimated 700 construction jobs. 9, Lee County ZBA finds that regardless of any possible economic benefit, decision to recommend or not recommend approval of the petition is not based on any increase or decrease in revenue for taxing bodies, but rather the criteria in the Lee County ordinance and the project's compliance with the same. K, subsection K, binding pledges. The Lee County ZBA finds that a witness on behalf of Stewart Creek Solar LLC testified under oath or affirmation to the following. Number 1, that the petitioner would be bound by any and all proposals, promises, statements, and representation in its petition and supplementary materials, or as made under oath at the public hearing before the Lee County ZBA, even if not expressly specified therein. Number 2, changes may be required as to the development of the project continues. However, any change would be substantial accord with the petition and the supporting materials. 3, any successors in interest would be similar bound as Stewart Creek LLC would make any sales subject to the terms and conditions of any special use permit granted to the project. 4, the battery energy storage BESS component would voluntarily comply with certain terms and conditions as provided in petitioner's supporting materials. 5, the final commissioning plan submitted at the time of actual construction and upon completion, the final decommissioning plan submitted at the time of actual construction and upon completion thereof will include and provide for removal of the battery energy storage system, or BESS. And Mr. Chairman, I'll stop there for that section. Discussion.
So to get it corrected here, the typos, you had one on number 5, there's a decommissioning plan then?
It would be the final decommissioning plan under K. Yep.
Okay. I move for approval of that section.
Second.
Discussion.
None here.
All right, roll call.
Craig Burrow,
Yes.
Luke Phelan,
Yes.
Rex Meyer,
Yes.
Bruce Forrester.
Yes.
The next section is requested variances. The ZBA finds that no variations from the applicable ordinance were requested by petitioner. Next section is recommendations to the Lee County Board. The ZBA recommends to the Lee County Board that the second amended petition of Stewart Creek LLC for special use be approved. Excuse me. Next section, recommendations to the Lee County Board for conditions of the special use that petition approved. The ZBA recommends to the Lee County Board that if Stewart Creek LLC's second amended petition for special use is approved, the petitioner be reminded to comply with all provisions of the code, including but not limited to the following conditions be approved as required by petitioner. A, road use agreement. Before any building permit is issued, the petitioner entered into a road use agreement relative to the proposed locations satisfactory to the county engineer addressing construction activities not less than 30 days prior to issuance. B, interconnection agreement. Before any building permit is issued, a copy of the signed interconnection agreement with Commonwealth Edison be provided to the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office. C, fire protection matters. Based on the presence of a BESS, that the petitioner affirmatively meet with the respective identified first responder agencies to outline the nature of the system and receive written confirmation that the respective agencies have developed a satisfactory appropriate response plan. D, permitted construction times. That a condition of construction be that construction activities shall commence no earlier than 7 a.m. and shall be discontinued no later than 8 p.m. absent written waiver of any affected non-participating resident. E, drain tile survey. Before any building permit is issued, petitioner undertakes a drain tile survey and submits the results to the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office. F, drain tile repairs. Before any building permit is issued, the petitioner, if the submitted drain tile survey reflects the presence of existing drain tiles in the area of construction, provide confirmation that any drainage tile damage will be repaired to the same or better condition within 30 days of damage. G, weed grass control plan. Petitioner provides the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office with a written landscape plan inclusive of weed grass control, which outlines when implementation will occur. Screening, or H, screening. Before any building permit is issued, the petitioner provide the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office with evidence that it has contacted the owner of any adjacent but non-participating dwelling to outline the ordinance-driven screening options and either reached a memorandum of understanding with these owners for a screen or established a requisite payment. If there are non-participating adjacent dwelling owners, the petitioner certify the same. And I, BESS, petitioner as a condition of any building permit, consent to the requirements relating to the BESS as outlined in the ZBA Appendix A proposed by the zoning administrator, a copy of which is incorporated herein. That's the conclusion of the report, sections of the report.
I move to approve the full report.
I second.
Discussion, questions?
Not for me.
Anything about the best that you want to talk about? It's a little, we want to make sure everyone's clear on what you're adopting based on the testimony. All right, so it's been moved and second to adopt, was a motion to adopt the full report, including the last section we covered? Is that correct?
Yep.
And there was a second?
Yes.
All right, no discussion, roll call?
Craig Burrow,
Yes.
Luke Phelan,
Yes.
Rex Meyer,
Yes.
Bruce Forster.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, there were a number of small corrections made as we went through the report, which were adopted. With the chairman's blessing, I'll make those changes and submit the final copy to the zoning administrator tomorrow.
Okay. Good, thank you.
I believe that concludes all matters related to this petition, unless the members of the zoning board have any questions. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Then, there is no new business tonight, so we need a motion to recess.
I move to recess this session.
Okay, and just, we have a motion And I just want to say that the next regularly scheduled meeting for the Zoning Board of Appeals will be 6 PM on Thursday, March 7th. That would be tomorrow evening. So we have a motion.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to recess. Any questions, comments? We're not going to do this one by, we're just going to do this one by. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.